Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Radio, where we talk with Microsoft Cloud Solution Architects about really interesting topics around Azure and the cloud. Today, and as always, I have Matt Calder with me. Hey Matt, how you doing today?
Hey, doing good.
And our special guest today is Akshay Nimbalkar. Akshay, super excited to have you on. Thank you so much for taking some time today. I heard that you've been doing some amazing things with Azure Kubernetes Service, Windows containers, and at pretty epic scale.
Yep, that is correct. Hey guys, good to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, so yeah, we're so excited to hear from you. I don't even want to talk too much longer because I've done AKS, been super excited, but I've never done it with Windows containers. I've never done it at the scale that I'm hearing you do it at. So I know myself and pretty much the audience, we're excited to hear what you have to share with us today.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, so I got the opportunity to work on Windows Container through the inception. Uh, I got the opportunity to work with a retail customer in the hospitality applications. Due to the COVID, the pandemic hit, they were struggling to scale. They had the need to grow fast, and fast means like now. So they were in the data centers and they were trying to go through the digital transformation. So we started with the journey of talking them through the AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Services, but the pandemic hit and they saw a spike in their growth and they couldn't scale fast enough in their data centers. They were actually on the journey of going into Azure, but they wanted to accelerate that now. And COVID actually gave them the opportunity to accelerate. So a little background on their applications. Their applications were built on the legacy systems and they were trying to migrate into the newer technology. But due to the pandemic, they were trying to figure out ways to accelerate and then go into Azure or any other cloud provider to see how they can scale fast and support their end customers. And that's how this journey started.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, so Windows containers was GA'd not too long ago. So all this happened, the end-to-end journey went into production in less than 6 months. So it was pretty interesting. Good learning for me as well. And thanks to all the product team who actually supported us throughout the journey to make this happen. And there were quite a few CSAs and other global black belts and others who actually helped through this process. So I am very excited to represent them here today. The good news to begin with, we are into production. And due to that, they actually decided to bring rest of their applications into cloud computing now. So we are on the second leg of the journey to do that.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were trying to get some early wins. Windows containers AKS allowed you to do that while they were modernizing the rest of the application, and just the excitement was overwhelming. It's like, you know what, we that was easy. Let's well, not easy. Easy, not the right word. That was a lot less tumultuous than we thought it would be. So let's bring some more over, and that's always good to hear when you've done such a good job that an organization can trust you with even more of
Yeah.
their applications, and people are willing to optimize and modernize more things. So I'd love to hear more about, like, you were saying that it was legacy systems, you're bringing over Windows containers while you're modernizing. Like, how did you land on Windows containers as the solution here?
So they have the applications where they have lots of dependencies onto Windows operating system because they were built over the period of decades, right? We all know how that goes. So they are on the journey of next 5 years to transform it. So they are definitely trying to adopt and then get into the newer technologies. But again, it comes with the resource constraint and the time it takes to modernize, right? So and they always have a demand. So they are doing pretty good in terms of their growth, but they needed applications to support their growth. And their growth actually spiked more than 100% uh, due to pandemic, due to the digital transformation. And since it is hospitality, which includes restaurants and stuff, right? Everything has to go contactless.
Yeah.
So they were trying to find avenues. So pretty impressive stuff. So The journey started with the one thought process is, hey, let us bring, and it was a twofold process for them. They actually wanted to scale anyways, and they wanted to bring everything into the cloud because they see that that is the way place they wanted to scale, and they were trying to decommission their data centers. So that was already the first fold. The second fold was the pandemic. They wanted to scale faster, and since the legacy application, which was a bottleneck for them, they were trying to see how we can do the conversion or lift or shift, or with minimal refactoring, how do we do this? So we actually had a brainstorming sessions. We suggested them, hey, you should be going to Azure Kubernetes Services with Linux, right? And that is how we started. So the good part is there were lots of learning. The one thing which I learned was this was my first Windows container deployment at scale. When I say deployment at scale, we are talking about hundreds of virtual machine scale set. So this is not a simple application. This is their tier one application where there is a lot of demand, right? When you buy stuff, people are checking out, they're trying to see the menus and so forth, right? So this is talking about massive scale, and they wanted it to support all those. So we actually took their critical application and then did bring it into Windows Container. The one thing I learned was all the best practices which I was using, which I had deployed through AKS on Linux, were pretty much the same. Windows containers was not that any different. Again, there are few nuances, but there were good learnings as well. As we went through, we actually built upon some good practices and best practices, and thanks to the product team to guide the lead the way and then guide us through the process.
Yeah, so that's exciting, especially for people who are watching this video who already have touched Kubernetes or Azure Kubernetes services, or even just containerization at some level. That once you get your application workload containerized, a lot of the best practices that you already know, that your team's already comfortable with, follows. Even if you're doing Windows containers, I just love that Windows containers here is that hero story for us to bring our applications as is. Um, and take
Right.
advantage of the cloud economies. I love that you use the word lift and shift, which you never hear on the dev side. I always hear it on the infrastructure side. You just said lift and shift for a dev application. That's pretty exciting. So, I had one more question, and
Sure.
the biggest one here is that do you feel like by moving to AKS and using these Windows containers that it took some of the pressure off the dev team to modernize quickly?
Definitely. Again, this is a global company. They are widespread it all over. So they also have the ability to diversify. So definitely it did. It did give them the ability to reduce the pressure, think it through, right?
Yeah,
Because now they have a breather. Now, the other good part is they're also rethinking the strategy. Again, we wanted to go with Linux now, right? So
yeah,
now, if you really see that, we proved Windows containers. Again, it is still at inception. It went in GA, but they are thinking now, hey, if I can do through Windows containers, do I really need to just move into Linux, or can I have mixed and hybrid solutions? And that is what we proved. The good part, more or less, all the best practices with few nuances, as I mentioned, lots of good learnings, right? So
yeah,
it did give them a new thought process. So now we not only have the breather to say, hey, I want to put it on my roadmap. Now I don't need to rush because I know now I can scale, right?
yeah,
But that also gave a thought process. Oh, can I still continue if I want to and still bring into newer technologies, right? So
yeah,
I'll still get into newer technologies, but do I need to always change from Windows to Linux? That probably is not needed anymore, right? So there is some more thinking to be done. And that is what we did bring to the table, right?
yeah,
And due to that, we actually built and made a good trusted advisor for the company now. So we sit on their initiatives with their architects, and we become a good trusted advisor. And that is the biggest achievement to me is if somebody believes that we are their trusted advisors, I am going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they are successful, right? With
yeah.
the technology, and be on their side and be part of their team. So
It's you made so many great points and enlightened quite a few things today. The biggest one, if somebody had to take a point home from here. I know this is the one I'm taking home. Is this idea that a lot of times you hear people talk about Windows containers. They talk about using Windows containers because they can't go to Linux containers. Now you're saying because we were able to use Windows containers, now it's not the second option. Now there's some scenarios where we say, hmm, maybe we want to run server nano. Maybe we want to host this on Windows because there's some tactical advantages to hosting this on a Linux distro. The fact that we have the choice and flexibility
Right.
is just super interesting because that wasn't the case a year or two ago. So it's just, with AKS, Windows containers, all of a sudden we just open up a whole world of
It is so
opportunity.
true. Yeah.
So, Akshay, thank you so much for coming on. Really excited what you had to share. We're going to definitely, as your solutions, stay in production, live on. Love to have you on, talk about best practices, and continue to share your learnings. Matt, this was exciting for me. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, this is bold. Windows containers in Kubernetes, truly global scale. Great story, and really, I can see how you earned their trust because it's not an insignificant journey, and to make it successfully, that's awesome partnership. So thanks so much, Akshay. Yeah, I just want everyone to, if you want to check out what's coming up from Microsoft, try the links below, aka.ms/devradioevents to see what technical events we've got coming up. And to stay up to date, aka.ms/devradiosource to sign up for the Microsoft Source newsletter. Comes out every month. Really great list of resources that'll help you get going.
Thanks again, Matt. And everybody, if you want to see more great interviews like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you set up notifications and ring that bell, right? So you know when we're going live. Akshay, again, thank you so much for coming over. We really hope to get you
Thanks for
back.
having me. It was really a good opportunity. Thanks.